Ladies and gentlemen, this is it. Stand in line for your fix. DeMarcus and Marcus in the mix, serving you yet another round of fish and grits. October 4th, 2017. How's it going for you, Will?
Oh man, I can't complain, man. As I love to say around this time of the year, if you are a sports lover, October is the greatest month on the calendar.
Man, tell me about it. We got Game 5 WNBA. We got the
Man,
baseball playoffs kicking off. Got
man,
basketball about to kick off in 2 weeks.
man.
Preseason starting already. Football in week 5 in the second quarter. Man, we going live right now, bro.
And for
We
all
live
my
right now.
geeky folks too, we're not gonna be remiss and we're not gonna cancel out the folks. It's hockey season as well,
It's
because that
hockey season as
coincides with
well.
the NBA. And for all my other folks out there across the world, because we're not gonna be selfish and just be typical Americans. We got that good old soccer going on all across the world as well. For those that like to indulge in the original football, uh,
Everything. October
it's just
has everything for everybody. Like you can always,
everything you want, everything that you want in sports, you can have in October.
man, you ain't lining up, man. But today we are gonna be doing the week 5 preview. We're gonna just run through all the games, tell you who's gonna be some of our starts and sits. And as always, today's episode is brought to you guys by DraftingSleepers.com. DraftingSleepers.com. If you have any questions as far as fantasy is concerned, send them to us. We'll answer them to our best of our knowledge, and we will take care of you guys, leading you to a fantasy championship for the 2017 season. But we are going to be kicking it off, Wilson, with this Thursday night game. I expect this to be a high scoring game. What you see? Is this one of those games where you start everybody? If anybody's healthy, you go out there and start them.
This is one of those games, man, where when you look at it, you look at the breakdowns, you look at where the two teams are, the Patriots and the Buccaneers, man, and yeah, you're kind of on that. Who can't you start? Uh, Both teams are kind of
Just don't
working
touch
with.
their defense. That's about
Yeah,
it.
I mean, both teams are working with suspect defenses.
Man,
I mean, if you're playing, in the standard league and you're trying to pick a team defense, I really wouldn't lean towards either one of these two.
nah.
Could be some possibilities for some turnovers if you get points that way, but if your standard league scores on points
Yeah,
given up, down and leave
yeah. I
them on the
fully
bench,
expect
man.
25 points on both sides. Easy.
Man, I expect this to be like a 37-34 game,
Yeah.
a 42-35 game, easy. Both of these teams can light it up. Both of these teams have big play potential on offense with both teams. Both quarterbacks are solid, can make plays. Both have playmakers all over the field, whether it be out of the backfield, whether it be receiving, some great tight end play as well. I mean, it's just like poison. I mean, literally, this is one of those games where you can pretty much start almost anybody on either one of these teams.
If you're the Doug Martin owner for yourself, are you putting him out there this first week off suspension, or would you just want to wait a week, see where he's at, kind of use this as a fill out game to see like how he's gonna be using the offense, or we just go out there and like let's go, Doug. I waited.
Man,
You already waited 4 weeks, you know.
if we pay attention to the trend that it's been so far with players coming back from injury or players coming off a suspension, you kind of want to give them a week to kind of shake the rust off. The expectation level shouldn't be too high. That being said, the matchup with Doug Martin right now is actually pretty favorable. It's just a matter of where he's at conditioning wise.
Yeah,
Uh, he might
which
give you a
they say
Le'Veon Bell week. He might
yeah.
come in and maybe only give you about 60 yards rushing, maybe another 20 or 30 in the receiving game. But I mean that could be enough. But I don't look for him to just jump out and explode, hit the ground running. But I think he'll be productive.
Would you start Danny Amendola or Deshaun Jackson in this game?
I'm starting Deshaun.
You starting Deshaun? You think
Uh,
Deshaun gonna be able to catch a bomb, or you see like consistent like a
I'm
6 for 84 yards and a touchdown coming out of him? What you think?
I'm starting Deshaun based on the fact that New England, I haven't really seen their perimeter guys really be able
Man,
to stop anybody.
they paid Gilmore a lot of money, and he's not showing up, my
And
man.
I'm going for Gilmore every play if I'm Jameis Winston.
Yeah,
I'm going after
and
Gilmore every single
hey,
play.
but on the flip side, Malcolm Butler, he's no better. I mean, the contract that the Saints was about to give him, it's like, hey, they kind of dodged the bullet. They about to give him like 60 mil, and
Exactly.
he's not playing like he's worth that price. Plus, he got benched, I believe, after the first 2 weeks. So
And that's the funny thing about it, man. It's like worst possible case scenario for Bill Belichick right now is happening. He's always been a defense guy. He's always
yeah,
been defensive minded. And to sit and have to be in that uncomfortable position where literally New England is playing to outscore teams. They can't play to hold them. They're playing to
That's the only thing they
outscore.
have. Yeah, that's the only thing they have, and that's why the rushing game's taking a little bit of a push right now because they're not playing with that lead like they was last year, to where
Exactly. They
you can
can't do
get.
the ground and pound. They
Yeah,
can't do ball control like they're used to doing. It's all on Tom Terrific. But that being said, if there's anybody that you want to have to go out there and outscore somebody 38-35 with, it's pretty okay to do it with Tom.
that's the guy. That's the guy. All right, what New England running back do you trust the most this week? You got James White. You got Gillislee.
Oddly
You got
enough, to
Dion
me,
Lewis.
I
Rex
think it's
Burkhead
going.
is out this game again.
Yeah, he's still out. I think it's going to be a two-headed monster between Gillislee and White. I think that White is still going to stay very integral to the passing game, which is kind of why I lean away from Danny Amendola. I also think that if New England gets a chance to get a little bit of ball control and sustain some drives and get into that red zone, as we saw week one, they're going to pound that rock with Gillislee inside the 20 and get those short yardage scores. So I think that you can potentially profit off of both of them. I don't see enough out of Tampa Bay's front seven, especially with David and Quan Alexander
Yeah,
still banged up.
Alexander is out for sure, and David is doubtful. T.J. Ward's also
Yeah,
doubtful, so secondary is gonna be on notice.
I mean that's a huge hole for Tampa because you're basically talking about three of their top five run defenders that we just named right there with Alexander David and T.J. Ward that'll be out or close to out. So I think that looms large for the running game and the potential for New England to play what to them is New England Patriot football, and that's good old fashioned ground and pound.
Definitely, man. Then moving on to the next game, we got the Bills and the Cincinnati Bengals going at it on Sunday. 3-1 Bills, they come into this. I mean, the Bengals defense has been playing bad, but on the other side, the Bills defense only allowed one touchdown. So I feel like it's gonna be. I think it's gonna be a closer game than what a lot of people expect, and I don't think it's gonna be fantasy numbers through the roof. I think the usual suspects may come out on top in this game.
It's going to be more of the usual suspects in this one. I think that on Buffalo's side, I think that Tyrod Taylor is going to have a lot of opportunities to make plays with his legs. I think that Charles Clay is going to once again loom large in the passing game. I expect for LaShawn McCoy to be LaShawn McCoy, give you that good dual threat yardage. I think that on the other side of the ball with Cincinnati, that AJ is going to be AJ. That's not going to change. I look for Dalton to kind of keep riding the ship a little bit. He's looked better the last couple of weeks since they've changed coordinators.
Do you expect like a couple touchdowns he can get through the air, or do you expect turnover Dalton? Like we really don't know at this point.
Now, the funny part about this game is it's still on that must-win level for Cincinnati.
Oh yeah, I think until you get back to 500, it's must win at this point because you dig deeper into that hole in that division, you're done.
And I think that for Buffalo, they need to pay attention because this is a classic form of a trap game. You're riding high. You beat Denver,
Buffalo.
you beat
Buffalo usually lose these games.
Yeah.
Remember the one year where they beat the Patriots, then they lost like 4 straight.
Yeah, exactly. This is one of those times where you're going to kind of get a more accurate assessment of where Buffalo is as a football team because this is a classic trap game. You're on the road. You're against a team that has a pretty legit offense. They've got some wrinkles that they can throw at you at all three levels of the game with the running game, the passing game. They can surprise you on defense because, again, they're opportunistic. They're not a terrible defense. They're very opportunistic. They will turn you over if you give them the opportunity. So it'll really, really come down, I think, to how well Tyrod Taylor and Andy Dalton can play mistake-free football. I'm not very high receiver for Cincinnati outside of AJ Green because Buffalo's secondary is underrated. They're very effective. They're very efficient. They do not give up a lot in the way of chunk plays or big yardage totals. But on the opposite end of that, I think that Cincinnati, if they game plan themselves right and they utilize that three-headed monster in the backfield, can actually be effective in the run game. I look for Mixon to continue to establish himself as the lead back, putting up some decent numbers. I can see 55 yards rushing, another 35 yards receiving. I can see another one of those two backs out of there, whether it be Bernard or Hill, coming up with a big pop play. Again, I mean, it's just one of those things from week to week as far as people, if they want to flex it or take the chance. Gio or Hill is going to get a big play out of there somewhere. It's just kind of the way that the Cincinnati offense is rolling, while Mixon holds it down and kind of does the dirty work. So there's some few interesting plays in there, but like you said, I don't expect this game to be a high scoring one at all.
No.
I could easily see a carbon copy of last week's game and it being a 23-16 type affair, 28-21 type affair.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you, man. Yeah, I don't expect a lot of action out there. Like I said, your usual suspects, and that's about it. Then moving on to the New York Jets versus the Cleveland Browns, the 0-4 Browns versus the 2-2 Jets. What the hell is going on?
Oh,
this should have been the battle of the defeated teams right here.
Yeah, this should have been the first round pick bowl, but the Jets said y'all got us messed up, bro. Y'all got us confused with that other New York team.
Jets trying to go over 500 in this game, and I would be surprised. But
it's a lot to be said about pride, man, and I'll have to give these guys props, man. A lot of folks, myself included, as anybody that heard our division breakdowns before the season started, had them dead in the water, not even worried about it, just go ahead and concentrate on that number one pick. And the Jets said, you know what? We suit up, we put our uniforms on, we get out there on that field, we play like everybody else. And they've been surprisingly effective in that regard, especially at the quarterback position. Josh McCown has kind of come in and kind of, steadied the ship and made what was a huge variable. No, he hasn't killed him. He hasn't killed him, but he's made what was a huge variable coming into the season a little bit more steady. He's effective. He's not going to try to Brett Favre you and try to throw for the fences every game. He's not going to really dumb it down and put you in a position where the offense goes stagnant. He just kind of takes what a defense gives him, and he distributes the ball evenly to different folks all over the field and tries to make plays as best he can. On the Jets side, I think that McCown is actually a surprisingly good flex play.
With a lot of people out this week,
with a lot of bye weeks coming in, because this is our first time doing this with the bye weeks being considered fantasy football folks. So some folks in a pinch, if you need that waiver wire pickup, man, Josh McCown is not a bad pick to go up against that Cleveland defense. Bilal Powell, I think, is an absolute stud. I think he's I love him. The tip of the iceberg. I love him to easily put up triple figures yardage wise. And even probably get a couple of touchdowns, maybe one rushing and one receiving, depending on how they mix it up. I want to put Jenkins out there, but it's something in my gut that just tells me just maybe to wait another week.
I mean, he's getting the targets. He is the leading receiver. So I mean, if you in a pinch at tight end, which is almost damn near every week, especially if you're a Hunter Henry owner.
Oh my God.
You might as well take your chances.
Is it Henry's off week or his on week? Did he get a catch? Did he get a catch last week? Because if he got a catch last week,
he got a catch last week. So yeah.
Okay, so he's 0 for this week. So never mind. He's 0 for this week.
So it's all the odd weeks. So it's 1, 3. So this 5. Yeah.
Okay. We gotta get a couple of catches, get a touchdown. The next week, well, Philip don't even know who I am no more. He
just erases. He don't even come out there and he got that plain like Academy jersey.
yeah. Like, okay, who's this guy? Just what?
Hunter.
I forgot about you, Hunter. I forgot about you. Hey, next week, player. Next week. I got you next week. week.
Are we at that stage where we can just drop Isaiah Crowell? Like, would you just rather just hold on to him and see if you can muster anything out? Because I mean, this is a guy that was going top 5, top 4, even keeper in some leagues.
I haven't given up on him yet, just for the simple fact that it's games like these where they could potentially go through and be able to, dare I say it, come out to an early lead and try to establish a run game. Whenever they're in a situation, and that's something that we really haven't seen from Cleveland yet this season, whenever they're in a situation where they can go through and kind of try to maintain a lead, hold on to a lead, they've got a great guy to kill the clock with, because Isaiah Crowell, as we saw last season, is capable of doing the job. They just have been in that situation where they've been playing from behind almost immediately in every game. So they're trying to throw their way back into it, but then a lot of that comes from, in my opinion, shaky coaching, because, I mean, sometimes you still want to just establish that run just to make people respect it, to open up your passing game, especially if you have a rookie quarterback. But, Cleveland is gonna Cleveland, unfortunately. Some things haven't changed with them yet. But I wouldn't sell the farm on him yet, just for the simple fact of he still has yet to get that opportunity to really go through and shine in that ball
Yeah,
control
we haven't seen
standpoint.
that
And
25 touch game, and that's usually when
exactly,
running backs of his ilk, that's when they come out on top. Like DeMarco Murray in some cases. Some days he
exactly,
just won't have nothing, but it'll be that 25th carry where he finally break that 50-yarder. And all of a sudden he got 26 carries for 104 yards. You're like, oh, okay, okay, DeMarco.
oh
No,
yeah,
he didn't do nothing all day. Just took that one break. But do you expect to see anything
exactly.
out of Myles Garrett this game? He is going to be debuting.
Who?
Who? He's at the who already? He's at the Mike Jones stage early in this
Who?
career.
No, it's not. It's not that he's at the Mike Jones stage. It's just been waiting so long to hear his name being called, and with defenders, man, especially D linemen, man, to come in to have to shake that rust off, man, it's kind of hard. I really wouldn't expect a whole lot out of him. Uh, Terrible. They're not world beaters, but they're not terrible. And I think that the Jets mix it enough with the run pass mix that they can kind of keep him on his toes. There's not really going to be a thing of, okay, Myles Garrett, just pin your ears back and just go for the quarterback every play. Because I think Powell will burn him. Uh, it's just one of those things where you just kind of want to just get a feel for it, just kind of see the expectations shouldn't be sky high for the guy at this point, but anything that you can kind of get is kind of gravy.
When you put Duke Johnson and Severian Jenkins to the side, is it one more pass catcher that you're confident starting this week, or you just won't touch any of them?
For me, I would start Jermaine Curse.
Yeah, he's getting his
Uh,
targets. I believe he's had at least 6 targets in
yeah,
all the games this year, and that's big time.
yeah, and I think against Cleveland secondary isn't the best, particularly their corners. I think that he can get his shot off and get you some chunk plays, get some decent yardage. I think he has an outside chance of breaking anywhere between 90 and 105 yards receiving, possibly getting a touchdown. Uh, a pretty safe play against Cleveland. I do not trust any Cleveland wide receivers, unfortunately.
Who does?
Uh,
At this point,
at this point,
Kenny
their
Britt
best
was a
receiver
favorite
option
for
is
yeah,
Duke Johnson. Yeah,
yeah,
I mean, their best receiving option is Duke Johnson.
yeah. That's they only receive not. And Joku try to show up every now and then, but I still feel like the
And
kid's
Joku
in
kind
the
of
learning
suffers from that
process.
same thing. Yeah, he suffers from the same problem that Crowell suffers from, and that's the fact that you can't get the ground and pound, you can't get the red zone opportunities where he would normally shine. He's not the stretch the field seam guy. Uh, he's more of a classic tight end, and in a lot of ways. And I guess it's ironic because he's a Hurricane too. In a lot of ways, man, Njoku reminds me of a young Bubba Franks.
Yeah,
He's
I'm with
kind
you.
of that tweener. He's not
Yeah,
really that vertical threat, but
he
he's
can do a
not that
little bit.
slow,
He's not Evan
wide.
Ingram, but he's more tight end than Evan Ingram.
He's more of a classic tight end where he doesn't have the greatest speed, but he's a decent athlete. He can get open. He can make those tough catches, but he's not going to be that guy that you're just going to put in the seam and be like, well, if you ain't got a safety or a corner on him, you're not going to be able to catch him. He's not
Yeah,
that guy.
yeah. I would never expect him to have like 11 for 136 or something. He seems like that 7 for 70 type of guy in a touchdown. I think that's gonna be his career
Yeah,
high.
that's his bread and butter.
Yeah.
That's his bread and butter. He might break out and get you some chunk plays here and there, but for the most part, he's going to be that reliable guy. He's going to be that guy in the red zone. He's going to be that guy on third and short to catch those, moves.
Once Kaiser get adjusted, that's gonna be his safety blanket in the middle. Like,
Man, I don't understand why Deshaun ain't out at practice late every day with that dude, just working the kinks out, getting it all popping.
he should have been had a report for him since OTAs. I mean, that's the only dude he been
Literally.
throwing to. That's the only guy. Like that's the only pass catcher they brought in. It don't make sense. Like their connection is okay, but I feel like it should be a lot better with all the
Yeah,
practice
it
time
should
that
be
they have.
stronger. It should
It should be
reflect
a lot
more in the
stronger.
amount of targets and opportunities that Njoku gets, and it's just not there. I don't know. I mean, I can speculate, but I don't know exactly what the disconnect or cause for that is. But I mean, in this situation, you're definitely not sacrificing targets going for your boundary receivers because Kenny Britt is
Yeah,
like on a milk
he's
carton
just there.
at this point.
He's just on the roster.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy to me, but they'll have to work those kinks out. It's kind of the sins of being young.
Yeah, there it is. Then we also got the matchup of 2 3-1 teams and the Panthers and the Lions. This should be a fun one, man. I think this is gonna be another fairly high scoring game. Not too high, but I at least I can at least see 20, maybe 25 points on both sides. Even though they both have a strong defense, but they on the inside track.
I can see one team scoring high.
Lions?
I can see Matthew Stafford getting his shot off. A lot easier than I can see Cam. Detroit has a very underrated defense, but more importantly, they have a defense that's built to play on a fast track, which has always been Carolina's Achilles heel.
And if they get Jared Davis back, watch
Man,
out Cam. Watch out Christian. Watch out Jonathan Stewart.
It's gonna be ugly because one of those things, and it's one of the things the Carolina coach talks about all the time, is he's always been quoted as saying our two toughest games every year are against Atlanta in Atlanta and against New Orleans in New Orleans. Why? Because they play on fast tracks indoors. They're not built like that. Carolina is built to be a tough smash mouth defense.
Yeah.
Outdoors, plays
they
in.
They built for the NFC North. If you want to
yeah, yeah. I mean, they're built old school style. Yeah. They're an old school smash mouth defense, and that could come back to haunt them when you get on that fast track with Matthew Stafford spraying that ball around, and especially if Amir Abdullah is actually active in the running game, it's going to be a nightmare for them on that back end. Their front seven is solid, but their secondary is less than impressive, to be nice about it.
If you had to rank your top 4 position players to start this game, who would they be? Outside the quarterback, just the position players.
Outside of the quarterbacks, I'm going to go with Golden Tate.
Okay.
I'm going to go with Kelvin Benjamin.
Okay.
I'm going to go with Christian McCaffrey.
I can see that. Hey, this gonna be the game. This probably be his most fun game playing on that track. Next to his Atlanta and Saints game. Yeah.
And for a little curveball guy that showed up earlier in the season, but has been quite as noticeable here in these past few weeks, but I think he's going to have a bounce back, is Kenny Golladay. I look to have an actual pretty good game against Carolina.
And just to throw this out there, is it a reason that you left out Devin Funchess? You just not sold on him completely? Because with Greg Olsen getting out, it seems like he's on the Mike Jones list.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, the best thing that could have happened to him was Greg Olsen being out, because
he's running the same route.
Devin Funchess is a tight end. I mean, he's disguised as a wide receiver, but he's a tight end.
He's going home. You know, those hometown games. I mean, that's one of those sneaky plays.
But I think that just like you said, if Jared Davis is in the mix and all that linebacker,
then that middle ain't gonna be solidified. That's gonna change.
Funchess can hang it up. That's why I really don't. Yeah, I mean, Funchess can hang it up, because the one thing that works against him playing in Detroit is he's not going to be faster than the people defending him.
Yeah, that's 100% true. So no Cam Newton this week. You're not expecting anything out of Cam Newton.
I think Cam could go through. Give you maybe 250, 260 yards passing, another 45 or 50 rushing, maybe throw for 2 touchdowns. I think they will keep him from running into the end zone. But I think that they will turn him over once or twice.
Would you start Cam Newton or Dak Prescott?
Wow, that's an interesting.
They both on the inside.
Right now, man, Cam's situation is completely different from Dak's, and we'll get to that when we get to that Detroit. Yeah. I mean, when we get to that Dallas Green Bay matchup. But right now, if I had to start one, seeing who they're going against, I would start Cam Newton.
Cam Newton or Carson Palmer? It's some ugly ones this week.
I would go Carson kind of by default, because I know that Philadelphia's secondary is still
exactly. I feel like you can write in Carson for 300 yards. I can't say the same thing with Cam.
Yeah,
can't say that right now. But yeah, that's interesting though. That's interesting. I mean, if Cam all you got, go ahead and lace him up and start him. But if you got other options, it is a few more juicier matchups out there. But we'll move on to the 49ers versus the Colts, the 0-4 49ers versus the 1-3 Colts. Jacoby Brissett been kind of impressed me. I know he had a tough matchup last week, but the fact that he's able to go vertical and get the ball to the playmakers, you know, like the first drive he had when they first inserted him a couple weeks ago, 50-yard bomb to Moncrief, you know, so that showed me all the potential right there. So I think he's at home. I think Jacoby's going to be a hell of a start this week. And
And I
this is
mean,
a guy.
not taking nothing away from Jacoby Brissett for folks that didn't know, man, that's the first time in his NFL career that he ever started a road game. Oddly enough, that's the first time he's ever started an NFL game on the road, and to do it in Seattle of all places gives
And
new
held his
meaning
own
to the
for the first
word.
half.
Yeah, I mean, it gives new meaning to the word trial by fire. So you had to feel for the kid. I mean, the expectations weren't very high considering where he was going and the fact that, Seattle was going to play out of their minds because they really needed that win.
Oh yeah, that was more of a scrimmage for
He
Seattle.
did it in the circumstances. Yeah, that was a pep rally game. That was their homecoming. You
Which
go through and you look at that. I think that he'll do pretty decent against Frisco. Frisco has a decent defense, but their defense again is more bottom heavy than top, kind of like Carolina's. Their front seven is a lot more intimidating than their back four.
and that's another linebacker. If that boy come back this week, Foster, that's gonna spell problems for anybody that's on the coast interior.
Oh my
Anybody.
goodness! And seeing as that I have him in 3 IDP leagues, hey Ruben, hey, come
Yeah,
back for your
give him a
boy.
little nudge. Hey, how you feeling, Ruben? Let me test your leg out.
I need my little killer back. Come on back, man. Come on back, man.
Which
Let's go
running
get
back?
this work.
Which running back you expect to have a bigger game?
I look for Carlos Hyde to have a bigger impact on the game.
Will he finish the game?
Well, I mean, we go through and we look at the sum of the parts and stuff like that. There's really no wrecking balls. There's really no, dudes with bad intentions on that Indianapolis defense. So I think that he might be able to make it out of there. The one thing that I'm going to be more interested in seeing as far as it pertains to Hyde is I think that they should really try to get him established in the passing game a little bit more. He's an excellent receiver out of the backfield. And at this
that has a
point,
lot to do with Brian Hoyer, man. I mean,
yeah, I mean, at this point, they have to go through and try to, mix in some screens, mix in some harder play actions, do some things to kind of make them, kind of open it up a little bit. Because, yeah, like you said, if you go through and you just try to, use him as that jackhammer or whatever, he's probably not going to make it out of that game. He's not the jackhammer type dude. I mean, he can carry a workload, but you don't want him to do it.
That he remind you? He's one of the harder running backs for me to like get a good feel for. I mean, coming out of Ohio State, he wasn't highly touted. It seemed like the running backs that came after him was a lot better than him, and we can definitely tell. But is it any like brief comparison that he just remind you of when you see his running style, when you see that 28?
When I watch him run, man, when I watch him play, in a lot of ways,
it's hard.
On a good day.
We've seen that opening week when he had damn near 200 yards. That's what I'm saying.
On a good day, he reminds me a lot of McCoy.
Okay, he is very shifty.
He's got a little wiggle to him. Yeah, he's got a little wiggle to him. He's got that good burst. And when you can kind of literally see when he's in that zone.
Mm-hmm.
And when you see it,
it's like he hit the edge a little bit harder.
Yeah. Like everything he does is like a half step quicker.
Yeah.
It's a half step more explosive. And it's one of those things. It's like, man, why can't you be dialed in like this every week? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things, man. But yeah, like on a good day, he kind of reminds me of McCoy, man. He's got that little wiggle, that little burst. He's slippery like that. He can get you in on the rushing game and the passing game. He's got that versatility to him now. Unfortunately, I think that, unless his situation changes personnel-wise or team-wise, he's going to waste the better part of his years in that 49er uniform.
If you were to go back to draft season or just about a month ago when we actually was drafting, would you put any capital into Carlos Hyde or would you still pass on him as usual?
Knowing what I know now with as many running backs that have been dropping like flies,
with him on pace for 1,200 yards and 8 touchdowns.
Yeah, Carlos would have got a call from you. He'd have got that, hey, big head. Hey, big head. What you doing, Carlos? Nah, man, you know what? I was just calling to let you know, man, I just picked you up in a few drafts, player. Just wanted to know how you feeling. It's good. You want some Starbucks? We can go to Starbucks later, get a scone.
What do you want? I got these pop.
Little latte, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Want to make them real comfortable, real comfortable.
What two pass catchers do you expect to have a big game, if any?
Uh, I'm gonna go Pierre on San Francisco side.
Okay.
Consistent look, and I'm actually going to throw a little love out there, even though his BFF isn't playing. I'm looking for T.Y. Hilton to actually show him have a pretty good game.
Okay. Hey, they on the like we say, they on the inside track, so speed kills.
Oh
T.Y.
yeah,
Hilton, if he
oh
get
yeah. Is this Ty is the sneakiest yard grabber in
man,
NFL?
he didn't have a good game last. He's kind of like the Hunter Henry of receivers.
Oh my God!
At least
It's the look.
he don't go full goose egg. He'll give you like 3 or 4. Hunter
Yeah.
Henry's like, nah, I ain't even coming out the locker room, bro. Like,
Nah, I didn't suit up this week. No, I'm at the crib, bro. I knew they weren't gonna throw to me this weekend, so I was like, I'm gonna just stay home.
Man, so we're gonna move on to the Titans and the Dolphins. 2-2 Titans versus the 1-2 Dolphins at home.
Battle of the overrateds. The battle of the overrateds at this point.
Both
like teams came in with a lot of fanfare, a lot of hoopla, a lot of positivity coming into this.
Jay Cutler had me fooled. He real deal had that Halloween mask on week.
Jay Cutler didn't have you fooled. Jay Cutler is just a fool. You just misspoke. It's fine. I knew what you meant. I knew what you meant.
Missed the message, huh? I honestly, I think J.J. gonna have a bounce back game this week.
I fully expect him to have a bounce back.
If it's one thing I can say, just looking at the Miami Dolphins games, his running style hasn't changed. The blocking is not there like it was at first, that he was accustomed to, but he's still running hard. And I think sooner or later that's going to bust through, and I think this is going to be the perfect team, a team that's pretty much depleted. I mean, they lost their franchise quarterback. Defense coming off a horrendous, all-time bad performance. Ooh. And now you at home to the Dolphins, who is still a week fresher than your team. You don't have Jonathan Cyprien. You don't have Corey Davis. Still got people out. And I think Miami's going to take full advantage. This is a healthy Miami team. They have nobody hurt. So I think this is going to be a bounce back game. They're averaging 8 points a game. Can you believe this?
Hey, this is crazy. But you go through, and at this point, if you Andrew Gage, you go through, make this an old school Chicago Bears type game. You ground and pound. You control this clock.
Take the ball out of Jay Cutler's hands. Give the ball to Jay Cutler 35 times if you have to. However many
Miami right now, if I'm the owner, I'm telling them, if I don't see Ajayi touch the ball at least 30 times this game, somebody got to freshen up
coordinator,
somebody
running back coach, quarterback coach, line coach. Somebody got to get fired.
Yeah, somebody's not just kind of out. Somebody's all the way out.
That entire team cannot come back into the locker room if your best player don't touch the ball 30 times. Somebody got to stay out there. It's like, it makes no sense. Like, I can understand the first 3 weeks is a filling out process. Like we said, that first game, Cutler had you fooled. Now you got 2 games of Jay Cutler. You got 2 games to see what the hell you're going to be expecting the entire year. Now it's time to see what J.J. got. He should not have 184 yards at this point in the season. Not
exactly. I mean, you saw last year that, for all intents and purposes,
we seen this dude what 3 times at minimum.
Exactly. I mean, we've seen J.J. establish himself last season as one of the 4 or 5 true workhorse, old school running backs in this league. So treat him as such.
And it's very hard to get that workhorse label. It's hard in today's NFL. As good as Devontae Freeman is, we still can't give him that label. As good as he is. Top 3 running back as far as fantasy, but he's still not a true workhorse because he don't get all the work. This guy's a workhorse. Feed him. Feed the man. I mean,
you have no excuses.
I fully expect Parker. Parker's been so consistent right now. I feel like you can lock him in for about 7 catches for 60 yards at this point. Are you comfortable starting anybody else outside of Ajayi and Devontae Parker at this point on either side of the ball?
Henry and Murray are good for me on Tennessee's side. I don't trust anything else. And yeah, Ajayi and Parker are pretty much the only things that you can really go with, just for the simple fact that Cutler seems to be in love with Parker when you've got a dude that's been an NFL record-setting receiver early in his career.
Bruh, same pace as Odell. Not getting the ball. Not
getting the ball whatsoever. One of the most reliable pass catchers in the NFL. And you don't even target him that often. It's crazy to me.
What, 13 catches on 14 targets in y'all first game together, the game that you won, and put everybody on high praises? Now you stop going away from him? It makes no sense to me. It makes no sense to me. So would you start Henry and Murray, or would you just go for Murray? Do you think Henry's going to be taking over this game? Are you comfortable starting Delaney Walker?
I'd be comfortable starting both running backs just from the simple fact that they're going to have to do something to offset their lack of quarterbacking. That's one of the reasons why I don't trust Delaney Walker. I don't have any faith in the backup quarterback situation for Tennessee, and just off the simple fact that we know Murray to be Murray, and at some point he's going to get dinged. That's why I think that, playing one or the other or both is a good idea, because I think they're both going to eat if they're going to have any shot to win, because both of these teams are in the same situation because of your quarterback and because of your skill position talent. You're going to have to play ball control and eat up that clock. So both teams, I think, are going to be looking to pound that run game strong.
Yeah. So this is going to be whichever running back break the biggest run. That's what
exactly.
I'm going down to. Then we're going to have the battle of the 0-4s, battle of the quarterbacks that got traded for each other. The LA Chargers versus the New York Football Giants. I think this is going to be a slugfest. I think it's a respect thing that they have, but as a competitor, nobody wants to be 0-5. And I think both of these quarterbacks are going to leave out on the field. If I got Eli or Phillip Rivers, I'm starting them both. Both. I expect full blown 3 touchdowns apiece. That's and maybe for Phillip if Melvin Gordon don't go off and decide to become an NFL running back again. But I think this is gonna be a definite shootout. I still have problems with the play calling with the Chargers though. I feel like we've been saying about Hunter Henry this whole time.
Oh my God!
I feel like he runs pass. He passed.
Their play calling is straight schizophrenic. Their play calling is straight schizophrenic, and it's frustrating.
It go back to week 1 against the Broncos. They was clearly in like passing situations, running the ball. I'm like, dude, y'all know y'all down, right? Like, what are y'all doing?
Like, are you doing this to prove a point? Are you pissed off at somebody on the team and you like, I'll show you? No, don't throw it. Run it again. I don't get it. I don't want to get it. All I know is in a battle of 2 teams that are trying to get that first win, a lot of pride involved and stuff like that. Only one has an actual defense. And in particular, secondary, which doesn't make me too comfortable with Phillip Rivers at this point.
And that's kind of crazy because I expected the Chargers to make some type of leap. I mean, toward the end of last year, with a depleted defense, they played pretty decent football, and I thought coming to Joey Bosa's second year, having Melvin Ingram on the other side, Jason Verrett, which I believe he's hurt at the moment. But I thought they was going to be revamped.
I mean, you had the NFL interception leader there with Casey Hayward. Yeah. I mean, they have pieces there in place. They have, what it takes. It just seems to be, again, San Diego being San Diego. Now we go through and we'll do this now in week 5 by week 11 when they're in the midst of a 4 or 5 game winning streak. And it's like, oh, they're turning it on again like they usually do second half of every season. It's like, why couldn't you do this a month and a half ago?
Right. As the historian that you are, Wilson, where do you rank Phillip Rivers all time as of right now? Knowing the resume, knowing that he hasn't had the playoff success, no Super Bowls, of course, top 4 pick, great college career, solid NFL career, played through the injuries. What does he rank in your quarterback rankings as of right now?
Phillip Rivers is the great value Dan Marino. If you look at the situation, you look at how his career has progressed. You've looked at how close he's been. He's had some truly dominant teams that have come up short. He's gritty. He's gutty. Terrific arm. Terrific intangibles. Fiery competitor. It's no slight to say that he's a great value Dan Marino because they're so similar in the way that their careers progressed and in the way that they actually played. That's the number one thing that sticks out to me when it comes to Phillip Rivers. He's this generation's Dan Marino.
Okay, I'm with you 100% on that. And let's talk about the Giants' backfield. Do you expect Wayne Gallman to Mike Jones, huh? Mike Jones. Do you expect anybody to take advantage of this running back position?
You're about to make me Bill Belichick you right now. San Diego. But sir, what about Wayne Gallman at San Diego? But sir, the running game in New York, San Diego.
I'm just saying, man. Somebody got to step it up. Somebody got to at least have like a 50-yard game.
I'm just here so I don't get fined, sir.
So nobody gonna take over the running back.
I don't trust anybody, man.
I
I'm
don't
sorry.
trust nobody either. But I mean, at some point, somebody got to be the established.
As far as moving the ball on offense, their running backs right now are Evan Ingram and Sterling Shepard.
And are you starting both of those guys this week? Out of all four of the pass
I'm
catchers,
starting.
what are
I'm
the,
starting Shepard and I'm starting Odell
those are the
without
two.
question.
Those are the two you most comfortable
Those are
with.
the two. Those are the two that I'm most comfortable with on New York side of the ball. I think that Allen will be able to get his shot off for the Giants because of the simple fact that if they come in with their head on straight and their offensive coordinator has a brain, you're going to mix it up, you're going to spread it out, and kind of by default, he's going to have a chance to get some chunk plays in with the way that Phillip is creative in getting in the ball.
Are you buying Tyrell Williams this week, or are you just gonna completely stay away?
It's hard if you're in a pinch, if you're getting hit by the bye weeks or by the injury bug, then you can put him in as a flex. But other than that, I don't really trust him.
Oh, I'm with you 100%. And then we're gonna go to the Arizona Cardinals versus the 3-1 Eagles. This game is kind of hard to read for me because I don't know what Eagles defense we're gonna see, and we know that the Cardinals are pretty much one dimensional at this point. I mean, they're gonna have to pass through the air. So if the Eagles decide to play motivated football at home, I think this game could really be one sided. What you feel in
Yeah.
this?
It has the potential to be, but the only thing that doesn't work in Philly's favor is the fact that their biggest weakness right now plays to the strength of the Cardinals, and that's the fact that their secondary is really banged up, which is going to be music to Carson Palmer and that receiving core and Ellington's ears. I look for it to be a pretty decent game scoring wise. I think that both teams will break 20 points. I do not expect it to be an all-out slugfest shootout.
Yeah.
Uh, 28-24 game isn't out of the question. I think Carson Palmer is going to have a good game for the reasons I just mentioned with the banged up secondary for Philly. Now, if Philly's pass rush can get to him early, then I don't look for him to have a good game because he'll get rattled. And we know that statue does not like to be bothered back there. I think that Carson Wentz is going to have a good game. I think that he's going to come close to that 300-yard mark. He'll have that many touchdowns, maybe one or two.
Do you expect LeGarrette Blunt to get it going again, or you think last week was just a flash in the pan, or he just trying to show people he had a lit juice left?
I think that LeGarrette Blunt is going to be the second biggest key to them winning this game because the best way that you stop an air raid offense is keep their ass off the field. Pound that rock. Don't even give Carson Palmer the opportunity. It's the best thing that they can do. With the secondary that they have right now, I'd be pounding that running game all day long. Going through, looking at that, I fully expect him to be able to break 100 yards against Arizona.
Okay.
I think that he'll score a touchdown. I can look for him to have similar numbers to last week. Maybe 110 yards and a touchdown. Get himself about 28 to 30 carries. And I look for them to control the ball, keep it out of Palmer's hands, and I think they'll pull out a close one at home, go to 4-1.
You see a bigger game from Fitzgerald or Alshon Jeffrey?
I see a bigger game from Fitzgerald by a mile because Fitzgerald is probably not going to garner their CB1. Alshon Jeffrey is going to meet Patrick Peterson early and often.
All right. And would you rather have Torrey Smith or Jerron Brown?
Jerron Brown. I think that he's going to just have opportunities by volume that Torrey isn't. It doesn't Torrey as far as what he brings to the table. I just think with the way that Doug Peterson and them run that offense, he's not going to get as many opportunities as a Brown would. In that, again, they're full out college air raid team right now. Like they don't even worry about really running the ball that much. Their bubble screens and quick slants are their runs in Arizona at this point. So, you go through and you get to that part of it. I trust Jim Brown a lot more than I do Torrey.
And anybody from the Cardinals backfield, are they with the same category as the Giants?
No, because to me, I think that Ellington is going to be that Duke Johnson for
By default, yeah.
Arizona. Yeah, I think he's going to be heavily involved in that passing game. I think that it's going to be. I think that he's going to bring back memories of Larry Centers in Arizona. I think he's going to get like 8 or 9 targets a doggone game.
Yeah, it's definitely room for it. I mean, I'd rather throw it to him than try to hand it off to him, knowing that.
Yeah, I mean,
he'll
and
get
he's
stuffed.
more explosive in space. He's a much better weapon for them offensively in space, being isolated in one-on-ones than trying to pound him between the tackles or hoping that he gets outside on the edge.
True enough, and of course you're gonna start Zach Ertz, and we shouldn't have to tell you that
Zachary.
that guy owns the middle. All right, then we're gonna move on to the 2-2 Jacksonville Jaguars taking on the 3-1 Steelers. The only thing that concerns me about this game is starting that Jaguars defense. As good as they've been, even last week in the loss, they still returned a touchdown on defense, but it's hard for me to start them this week. Would you still take that chance, knowing that it's a lot of teams on bye?
Biased. That's just because
I'm
you
just
biased.
saying.
That's what it is.
I still feel it's some matchups.
I have no problems with starting Jacksonville's defense against Pittsburgh because Pittsburgh is going to get introduced to a concept that they used to remember, and that's back when you used to have a team full of active linebackers that could tackle well, which is what Jacksonville has, which is going to limit the biggest asset that Pittsburgh has, and that's one Le'Veon Bell. Ben Roethlisberger is going to have to win this game against Jacksonville, and he's going to have a pretty stacked order because, again, their front seven is solid. Their linebackers are, to me, one of the top 8 units in the league across the board because you already knew what you had in Posluszny and Telvin Smith, but with a fully healthy and supremely active Miles Jack added to that mix, across the board, do everything that you need linebackers to do.
I think I'm penciling Miles Jack for most improved. His
Man,
year 1 and year 2 leap, man,
he is amazing.
If we talk about Jared Goff leap, Miles Jack leap is
like people aren't even taking the time to pay attention to really notice. Like he's been leaps and bounds better, and it's partly because of the fact that he's more comfortable and he's healthier.
Well, they forget what type of athlete he was, especially in college. Man, he played any and everything UCLA wanted them to do.
Yeah, you never remember anybody if it's not fresh in your memory. So you know how people like to do it. But you add that to the fact that they have a potential Pro Bowl tandem at corner. So their back end is actually pretty solid too. It's going to be fun watching Antonio Brown get switched off on between Bouye and Ramsey. That's going to be must-see TV for folks who really like watching individual matchups. But I think that Jacksonville's defense stacks up very well against what Pittsburgh brings to the table on offense. That being said, I think that Le'Veon will still be productive. I think that Antonio Brown will still be productive. The mystery is going to come from who's going to be the wild card in this game. Is it going to be a Martavis? Is it going to be a Juju?
Yeah.
You know, it's one of those kind of situations, but I look for them to still do what they need to do.
Bouye and Ramsey's gonna be busy with those monsters on the outside, and I think Juju gonna have to win his one-on-ones in the middle because them boys gonna be chipping and blocking them all day. So
you're gonna have
to get off that line and get into some explosive routes, or like you said, it could be trouble for Big Ben if he got to sit back there on that lunching pad. All you gotta do is move him a little bit. He don't want to move too much. So you move him a little bit, that's gonna be a sack. I think the Fournette touchdown streak gonna continue too. I mean, dude scored in every game so far.
All they got.
I mean, shit, at this point, it's all you need. I mean, look how far he got you.
Well, I mean, that's all you need from a fantasy football perspective. But if that's all they got this weekend, they're about to lose like 26-7.
Well, I mean, everything comes down to Bortles. I mean, we've seen Bortles have his.
Who?
We've seen him have those type of games.
Are we talking about Sir Blake Bortles of the England variety or Mr. Blake Bortles of the America I still don't get it variety? Because if they're not playing in Europe, I don't know who Blake Bortles is.
Why did he get the extension? Why did he get the extra year? Like, what did they see?
That was your franchise guy. You wanted to save face and try to justify the fact that you picked him so high.
But do you give any blame to Tom Coughlin? Like, does Tom Coughlin like not go in there, look at the film, and like, hey, we don't need this guy. We don't need this guy. I mean,
well, the only two things that come up about it is this. You go through, you invest the money, so you had to do what you had to do. You had other areas that you wanted to address because you didn't have to take Leonard Fournette. You could have picked a quarterback. You just chose not to.
I still fully believe if they just went the Texans right, everything would have been fine. If they took Watson, then backdoor and got Foreman in the third, Cam Robinson in the second, they would have been completely fine. They
I mean,
probably,
yeah,
they probably would have been as
it's,
explosive as far as the running back, but Foreman, Ivory, and Yeldon, I think that would have been a hell of a three-man
I
combo.
mean,
I
you
mean,
go through. You can say that. You can say that they can go through and stand pat, pick up Watson, stuff like that. They could have traded up into the back end of the first round and picked up Dalvin Cook because nobody else wanted him. I
true.
mean, there's tons of what ifs that we can look, but at the end of the day, it's still Jacksonville. They still decided to lay in the bed that they made, so they got to deal with the consequences because right now they're kind of like Arizona was when they had Matt Leinart. It was like we got a Ferrari, but the engine's bad.
Let's just paint it. Let's just paint it.
Thank God a Kurt Warner fell into their lap, or they would have still been 7-9 with Matt Leinart. It's that same kind of situation with Jacksonville, man. I think that, finding some sort of alternative or trying to be active more in free agency or I guess pursuing the next big thing in the draft, if that's going to work for them, it's something they're going to have to do. But they're in that interesting situation while it still benefits them because the sum of their core is relatively young, but you never want to be in a situation where you have this core, this deep well of talent, but you don't have a leader to grow with them and mature with them and take them where they need to be in that designated window of time. They're going to find themselves in a position where by the time they find their franchise quarterback, their core is going to be too old to make a run at it, and it's going to be like, okay, wow.
Yeah, we were there in the way and started to get on the IR. Ain't nothing we can do about it.
Exactly.
Once those players start getting hurt, it gets sad real quick. But is there any Jacksonville receivers that you would start if you was in the pinch? Hearns, Lee, anybody?
Leonard Fournette.
And moving on to the Ravens. the battle of the 2 and 2s. We got the Ravens versus the Raiders. Joe Flacco going to be leading against EJ Manuel. Oh my goodness!
God bless.
If you was forced to start two receivers, who would they be in this game? It's disgusting.
If I had to,
if you had to start two receivers.
If I had to start two receivers, I would start Cooper and
you don't want to say it either, huh?
No, I don't. I really don't, because I literally do not trust any Baltimore wide receivers at all. I'll go with the 3 C's. You can take any two between Cooper, Kupp, Cook, and Crabtree.
He said, I ain't doing it. I ain't doing it.
I can't. I'm not getting on the plane, animal. I can't do it.
You may be okay starting Mike Wallace. I mean,
who?
This one's you may be.
I could.
You had to think. You'll have your phone like looking at your lineup. You may just hold it until like 11:50. Like, all right, I guess we'll go with that. Matter of fact, I'll put Ben Watson.
I could have sworn that I saw Mike Wallace in the Mystery Machine eating a sandwich with Scooby and Shaggy.
Oh yeah, he definitely was. I think he brought the Gatorade.
Man,
he brought the juice. Man, I don't like this game at all. Like even
I don't
if
like
we
anything about this game. Yeah. I don't like anything about this game.
I think this game could be a low scoring. Marshawn Lynch may lead the way with like 60 yards and a touchdown. It may be the highest scoring fantasy play of this whole fucking.
This is like the game to thumb your nose up at all fantasy football players, because while it may be a good game, it may be a quality win for one of these teams. There's not going to be any big fantasy come up to speak of from anybody, barring some sort of miracle.
At all.
It just doesn't work out well. Baltimore's offense is stagnant. All their pieces are stagnant. This would be a glaring opportunity for somebody like West at tailback to get his shot off against a shaky front seven for the Raiders. But I don't think that
going on with their defense, man.
That they'll do that, man. I mean, the Raiders defense is still
that's
the Raiders defense. They really didn't make any significant strides as far as personnel in the offseason, so I really didn't expect them to be too much different from what they were last year. And last year, they weren't a really good defense.
at all, at all. Yeah, I'm looking at this game like a bye. I'm acting like neither one of these teams play, and I think I'm just gonna pass on everything that's concerned with this game,
I
unless I
mean, like if you are absolutely without any other option, I mean, Lynch is still a RB2, even in spite of the matchup and stuff like that, because I think that Manuel is going to be serviceable enough moving the ball down the field that it'll kind of keep the defense honest. West should be.
maybe Alex Collins. I think they probably gave up on West. It looked like Alex Collins had.
And I mean that's crazy to me because I think that this is a game that's tailor made for West to bounce back in and actually be able to have a little bit of a pop against this defense and against this front seven. But I mean, literally, it's a coin flip when you talk about offense and Ravens in the same sentence.
Yeah, it definitely is. So if I was you guys, I'd just stay completely away from this game. I don't trust nothing about it. Then we got the Seahawks versus the Rams at LA. This should be very interesting. Let's see if this Seahawks defense is going to actually travel this year. So they haven't been looking too
well.
good.
The one thing that helps out, the one thing that helps them out is a short trip. So it's not like they're doing another cross country flight or anything like that. Short trip down the coast. The other part, of course, that people like to make fun of me about, but they found out when it came to that Rams 49ers game, there's just always something about divisional matchups. I look for it to be a very entertaining game. I look for it as the young pups in LA trying to prove that they are not a fluke, and the old man that's been strong arming the division for a while is like, not so fast, my friend. We're still here. We still matter. Y'all are still going to take the back seat. I think it's going to be pretty knocked down and drag out. I do not expect a lot of points in this one. I do expect some good individual performances. I expect Todd Gurley to be Todd Gurley. I expect Russell to be Russell. I'm going to be very interested, supremely interested in seeing what a young Jared Goff does in this situation.
All eyes are going to be on him in this game.
It's going to be interesting to see the way that he keeps his composure because they're going to throw different looks at him, and you got that Legion of Boom back there.
Even though you may only be looking for about 20 minutes because your package is going to come on about 20 minutes later. So
I'm multitask well. I'm multitask. I'm not tripping. I multitask well. I'll be at a venue that has multiple TVs, so I'll get them to
illegally.
Yeah. Put a little. Hey, the TV in the corner. Put that on that. Yeah, I need to see Jared. Right now. Put that in the corner. For the restroom, the one over the restroom. Yeah, change that to the Rams, please. Thank you.
Thank you.
You know what I'm saying?
Who do you expect to take over the Seattle backfield this week? Who do you believe in right now? I mean, because we know it's going to change every quarter with Pete Carroll. So
I mean, for me, smart money is on Lacy, and you sprinkle in a mixture of Thomas Rawls, see where he's at, see where his legs are at. But Eddie ran hungry, Eddie ran hard. I mean, 11 carries, 52 yards. It's not anything really shake a stick at. You know what I'm saying? It'll be interesting to see, but for me, I would start off the game going with Lacy, giving them a change of pace, sprinkling in some Rawls. This would have been awesome if they'd had a chance to have like a CJ Prosise in there.
Man, I think when he comes back, this offense is really going to start to pop off a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, he basically gave you what Chris Carson gave you.
Yeah, Russell really don't have anybody he can rely on, and like for the short pass. I mean, even Jimmy Graham, it's like he don't want to catch anything that's not 10 yards and plus. It's like he don't want to come back with bullshit.
Well, part of it is that, and that's a huge problem because Russell Wilson doing his best Dak Prescott impersonation is forcing the issue when it comes to Jimmy Graham trying to get him involved because the 2 turnovers that he had against the Colts were throws to Jimmy Graham.
But you also see Jimmy running some half-ass routes.
But that's what I'm saying. It's that two-way street where it doesn't seem to be that much effort to justify that much attention that Russell is giving you, but Russell is trying to show faith in you, and it's not being rewarded. Again, if you go back and you look at the 2 interceptions that Russell Wilson threw, it was on half-hearted routes that were being run by Jimmy Graham.
Yeah, and he's just trying to make a play.
Yeah,
trying to make a play, and Jimmy Graham maybe next time.
I don't think like Jimmy Graham is.
It's
I guess I'm supremely biased in saying this.
Is he disappointing you so far? I mean, double-digit points is, I believe 3 out of the 4 weeks. So he's
Oh
getting.
yeah, but the funny thing to me is the comparison that I think of when I see Jimmy Graham in that Seattle uniform is looking at Alex Rodriguez in a Yankees uniform. Yeah, you know it's a good player, you know it's great, but no Yankees fan is going to sit here and tell you that A-Rod was a Yankee.
Yeah.
He played for him, but he's not a Yankee.
Yeah.
Jimmy Graham plays for the Seahawks, but he's not a Seahawk.
Yeah, I don't feel like he embraced their culture at all.
I think that it was one of the dumbest decisions that they made as an organization. One of the few dumb mistakes that they've made from that front office, because you literally brought in a guy that your entire team hated.
Bashed him.
Because the year before it was Jimmy Graham that was talking so much noise to him in the playoffs and talking all this trash, and you bring the guy into your locker room? Nah. That's not that type of team that you can do that with. That's not a team of businessmen, guys that are just, it doesn't matter. We're getting paid at the end of the day. No, them dudes have pride. They're a little bit old school in their mentality in Seattle, and they don't really include. He's not getting invited out to pizza and beers with the guys after the game.
He ain't even going to bowling night. He ain't going to the wedding reception.
No birthday party, none of that shit.
He gonna see it on Instagram like, hey, y'all went. Yeah, Richard.
Hey man, I didn't know that you had a little birthday party for you.
They gonna act like they. Yeah, Richard had a get together last.
Yeah, Fire marshal said it was too many people, so we wanted to invite you, but you wouldn't have been able to get in.
Sierra had a gala event last night.
Yeah, we wanted to save you the gas money. We knew that the fire marshal was gonna shut it down, so just
Is it any of the Rams receivers that you trust this week? I know last week you had a lot of confidence in Cooper Kupp. He ended up scoring. You want to make a call this week? Who's gonna be? Is it gonna be Tavon Austin, Mr. $40 million? Is that the worst waste of a contract you ever seen? Because first off, he didn't earn the contract, and he hasn't did nothing to validate that he could have got the contract.
Sir, we live in Houston and we witnessed Brock Osweiler, so I don't think that's a question you should ask.
That I feel like that's completely different. Like when I always break down the Brock Osweiler,
I'm just going by the question that you just asked me.
I know, but what I
just saying,
Rick Smith has something. It's something about Rick Smith to where he just want to stick it to the Broncos, and
that's your BFL.
That's what I seen it as. It's like I'm about to take y'all quarterback. Like Rick Smith's just so petty, dude. But it was a bad decision. But when you go back and look at it, he was the best. He was the best available option at the time when you look at the draft.
Hey Rick Smith. Hey Rick Smith. When you have some trophies in your cabinet, you can afford to be petty as a GM. Until then, do whatever it takes to put the best team out there on the field.
I'm with you 100%. I'm with you 100%, man. So, which one of these receivers you trust? You got Cooper Kupp out there. You got Sammy Watkins. You got Tavon Austin.
The only one that I can look at with any kind of confidence, because of the simple fact that I don't think that he'll be keyed on, because I don't think that Seattle really respects him enough. He's going to have to prove it, is ironically Cooper Kupp. I think that he's going to have the best opportunity to be able to get the underneath routes. I think he's going to be the best opportunity to get their third down catches, because they will be paying attention to Tavon. They're going to pay attention to all the game breakers. They're going to make sure that they're not going to get beat on chunk plays or big plays. That's Seattle's MO. First and foremost, they shut down the big plays and they make you fight that war of attrition and wait until you snap or make a misstep, and then they capitalize off the turnover. I think that he's the most reliable guy. I think that this is going to be a game where the possession guys are going to have to shine for the Rams. I think that Gurley will probably end up with the most receiving targets in this game. It's going to be one of those kind of knockdown, drag out type of affairs.
And just off the top of your head, who you think gonna take this game?
Oddly enough, I look for the Rams to hold serve in their building. I think that I originally felt that the Rams would split with Seattle. They've always played Seattle extremely well every year, so it's not that much of a stretch. I look for them to continue that streak, and I think that they're going to split with Seattle this season. I think each team is going to win at home.
All right, I'm with you 100%. Then let's go to Wilson's game of the week. We got the Green Bay Packers traveling to Dallas.
Sir, how dare you? That's everybody's game of the week.
I don't know.
How dare you?
I'm ready for the Sunday night game. But I guess
let me use the whack cliches. Let me use the whack cliches.
Get them all out, huh?
It's America's team.
Oh,
How could this not be the game of the week, sir?
are the Patriots
It's America's team.
playing?
We didn't say America's Republican team. We said America's team.
Slow.
My bad. My bad. My fault. Excuse me. I didn't know we couldn't carry live information. I'm sorry. I didn't see the sign on the door.
Truthfully, what do you expect in this game? What do you expect? Do you expect this game to be close? Do you expect Rodgers to go out there, throw up 4 touchdowns, make this just a breeze of a game as usual? Do you expect this to come down to the wire? What do you see going on?
This game is going to be another fight because I think the underlying tone of this game is going to be that you really have two teams that, while highly thought of coming into the season, both are kind of in different, fighting to establish their identities as teams. I think that Dallas is in that we're looking at the panic button, but we haven't hit it yet type of mode. And Green Bay's in that, well, we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. We're pulling out some wins that we may not necessarily should have won. We got a ton of injuries, so we really don't know what we are yet because we don't have everybody that we expected to be here there yet. And with that, I'm trying to say this and be as objective as possible, but just looking at the way the two teams are functioning right now, this is another potential bad game for Dallas for the simple fact of they have so many huge problems with their offense, with their execution in the passing game, and they have huge problems on third down. When you play against what I like to call a momentum team like a Green Bay, if Green Bay starts getting them on 3 and outs, they're going to run Dallas off that field. Because if you give Green Bay's defense that early confidence, like the best way to play Green Bay, get that defense on their heels and start questioning themselves early, and you got a shot. If you go through and Green Bay's out there and they're pushing 3 and outs early and they're shutting you down early and they got you looking confused, it's only going to get worse because then they're going to play better. One of the fun things that I like about Green Bay's defense this year is that they went through with the and the way that they've gone through with their personnel. They're a lot faster than they used to be. That's going to play well indoors on a fast track. Dallas's struggles with getting the ball off in passing situations, with their constant targeting, almost to a fault at this point, of Dez Bryant, with little to see in return, is going to come back to haunt them in a major way. They have to find some kind of way to shake up that offense and be a little bit more unpredictable, because right now you can pretty much sit there, watch to what they do depending on down distance and time in the game. And that's not a good look trying to be a contender in the NFC. It's not a good look if you're trying to go through and play against your own division, because there are no bad defenses in their own division, and they're all paying attention to stuff like that. I look for it to be a pretty decent game. I look for it to be a pretty decent scoring game. It's not out of the question for me to see like a 35-31 game again. I think that Dallas has everything in them. They have that right kind of urgency right now to come back with a bounce back game. I think that Dak is developing a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, whether he will admit it or not. And I think he's going to come out with a little bit to prove in this game. But on the same token, games of the season for Green Bay by and far is the hardest part of their schedule. And if they can come out these first 8 games with 3 losses or less, they're going to be a problem come end of the season and postseason. And if you could have told me that Green Bay would literally be starting 4 guards and a center and still be winning games like they are right now, I would have called you crazy. But I mean, with number 12, all things are possible. But I look for it to be a really entertaining game. I look for it to be some surprising wild cards in this game. Going to have a bounce back game. I don't think that he goes for 300, but I think he goes for 3 touchdowns.
Bless you, my brother. Bless you.
Thank you.
No problem.
I think Zeke has a decent game. Nothing too outrageous. I don't think that he's going to kill him like he did last year. But it's not out of question for me to see him get 105 yards and maybe a touchdown. I look for A-Rod to stay hot. I look for A-Rod to light up that young secondary. I look for A-Rod to throw for 4 touchdowns, 2 of which are going to go to Randall Cobb. Another one is going to go to Jordy Nelson.
Do you think Devontae plays this week?
I think he will, but I hope that he doesn't.
So you think he's just trying to play a little tough? You think he just needs to sit it out and just let his body relax for a little bit?
Contract year.
All right, hey, that's what I'm saying. Like,
Contract year number one, but most importantly, Davante Adams, career-wise, I'm pretty sure has had his 3 best games against the Dallas Cowboys. He always plays well against the Cowboys, particularly in the playoffs.
Hey, so yeah, he wanted to continue that streak. I feel you. I feel you 100%.
And then it's another thing. Like I said, it's that mentality of looking at the pecking order in the conference, knowing that you're playing in a stacked NFC, and to be able to go through and say, hey, we've started off against Seattle, Atlanta, Chicago, Cincinnati, and now Dallas. And we've come out of that with no linemen playing, with people getting hurt week in and week out, with our best defensive player being out, and we're 4-1. Huge for them going forward.
And what you seen, all the running backs came back to practice. Are you still confident starting Aaron Jones, or has it changed a little bit? Would you just go ahead and start Montgomery? Would you start Jamal Williams? They all 3 practiced.
I like to get away from all the hypotheticals and stuff like that, and I follow my quarterback. I listened to Aaron Rodgers sing the praises of Aaron Jones all week. And when number 12 talks, people are going to listen and pay attention. He has stated repeatedly that he feels extremely comfortable having Aaron Jones in the backfield. He likes what he brings to the offense. He likes the burst that he runs with. He likes the fact that he's a smart kid. He can run hard inside, but he gives you that wiggle and setting the edge outside. And he likes him in the passing game. That's going to speak volumes as to how they choose the game plan going forward. And again, ultimately, if you go through and knowing, okay, if we can go through and we can run Jones hard in this game, see what he's worth, get that experience under his belt, and we can sit Williams and Montgomery, because we know we turn right around after we leave Dallas and we go to Minnesota for a division game. I'd much rather have them available and healthier for the Vikings game than for the Dallas game.
And as a fantasy owner, would you feel more comfortable starting Dak Prescott or Jared Goff this week?
Dak Prescott.
Dak Prescott all day?
Dak Prescott all day, just for the simple fact that I'm not going to compare Green Bay secondary while playing at a pretty decent level, particularly their rookie Kevin King. I'm not going to compare them to the Legion of Boom. That's foolish at this point. Much harder matchup for Goff.
Got you. Then moving on to the Sunday night game, we got the Kansas City Chiefs coming down to H-Town taking on the Texans. The 4-0.
Hey, H-Town. Hey, Deshaun Watson MVP, baby. Getting it. Putting it on them boys. Put that 90 these last 2 games. Y'all don't know nothing about that around here. Baby, we doing it like this down here in this H-Town, boy. Kansas City ain't ready for this. They don't want none of this right here. I'm sorry, my bad.
Kareem Hunt is on pace for 2,000 yards. Does that pace stop this week, in your opinion? Would you start Kareem Hunt?
Hell yeah. Until further notice and somebody absolutely shuts him down, I'm never ever taking Kareem Hunt out of my lineup. I might start his ass on the bye week because he'll probably give me more yards than my other running backs. I'm just saying.
You got Terrence West or Kareem Hunt on the bye. Who you gonna start?
Man, you know what I'm saying? I'm going to go with Hunt all day. Hunt might give me that solid 5 points.
What about the other running back? Do you expect Miller to have another top 5 week? Or do you feel last week was just somewhat of a coming out party, but he's going to digress into his normal means?
I think that he has the potential to against this defense, but I think that he won't, because of the simple fact that I think that they're actually going to diversify a little bit more, and I think that Foreman is going to get a few more touches in this game. I think that this is really going to be one of those times where Bill O'Brien is going to be like, hey, guys, I know y'all excited at the 90 points last 2 games, this, that, and the other, but we're going to go through. We're going to play us some good old-fashioned Houston Texans smash mouth football. We're going to use these backs. We're going to ground and pound, control this clock, and kind of limit the opportunities for Deshaun Watson to maybe make a mistake because it's a big game. It's a legit team. It's against a legit Super Bowl contender, a team historically that they've had problems with. I think you don't want to do anything to take away from the momentum. So you don't go through and play it completely safe and just put a leash on him, but you're going to rein in some of those things, and you don't want him to be in a position where he has to kind of quote unquote freelance it. I know he's wearing that number 4, but you don't want him out there like Brett Favre trying to improvise on every play just because your line ain't holding up or things are breaking down. Because that defense over there, even though they're missing their headhunter and Eric Berry, is still a very smart, very opportunistic defense. And I don't want Deshaun Watson to have any parts of Justin Houston by any means whatsoever. Stay in that pocket, young man. Slide, go down, throw it away, do whatever you got to do. Because if you give him a chance, he's going to ruin your whole evening.
Yeah, you're not lying at all. And we've seen Tyreek Hill have a pretty average game. So I don't want to say a bad game. Can you expect a bounce back?
Oh, boy. That's the guy that's on my breakout radar. That's the guy that might bust out with that. Oh my God, here he is, 6 catches, 142 touchdowns. He has that kind of opportunity with this defense because of the simple fact that the front 7 right now is making that secondary look real good in Houston. Real good. Yeah, because to a man, they're not very good at all. And a guy like a Tyreek Hill, oh man, that's not what the doctor ordered for that secondary.
Yeah, exactly. I think they're gonna be taking all kind of deep shots. Well, I mean, it's Alex Smith. He's throwing deep this year, so
what?
you gotta respect it. He's taking it.
Alex is back at Utah. Alex said, "I'm back in college again. Y'all don't even understand. Watch this. Watch this. You know what? I'm not even calling the play. We all going long on 3. We all going long on 3. Ready? Break." I mean, I'm scared of these.
I'm starting to think that DeAndre Hopkins has become like that 2009 Larry Fitzgerald of fantasy. This dude here, 7 catches in all games, and he had last week. So it's like, man, if you're gonna give me 10 points off rip just with the catches alone, shit, the yards and the touchdowns extra, bro.
Yeah, that's extra sauce for the spaghetti right there. So,
if anybody took a chance on him, it's paying off. It's paying off big time.
Need him to get I need for the Texans in general to get that Andre Johnson out of his blood. Can y'all get him in the end zone a little bit more, please?
Oh, well, Andre Johnson, he could never even smell double-digit touchdowns. At least DeAndre got that 1 year. He may never get that again, but he got that one.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't understand the way that is. I mean, like, literally, DeAndre Hopkins can easily be on the level of an Antonio Brown or a Julio Jones or an AJ Green. They just pick the worst times to choose not to go to him. I like it. To me, it's not logical. I'm like, he has everything that you need skill set wise. There's absolutely no reason to go away from him in the red zone. If anything, I'm gonna go to him even more in the red zone. Pretty much inside the 30 is Hopkins time for me.
And just to be fair, I mean, as Watson's been starting, of course they ain't get close in the first half of Jacksonville, but the second half, Watson found him in the red zone, and then
no. Now, I mean, this isn't an indictment of Watson, and it'll be interesting to see how it goes going forward. But I'm just saying, historically, what we've seen from the Texans is as far as how they use Hopkins. I'm just hoping that's more of the.
There was a lot of Griffin, Anderson, Fedorowicz when it came to the red zone. So yeah, I
want it to be more of the rule and not the exception. Now I want it to be a thing of, okay, well, Deshaun C. Oh, we inside this 30, baby. Hey, D Hop, you know what to do. Don't even come to the huddle. Just stay out there.
Would you be more comfortable starting Watson or Smith this week?
I'm going to say Smith by a hair.
It's safer. It's a lot safer.
Just because the secondary that he's playing against is a lot softer than the one that Watson's going to go up against.
I'm with you 100% on that one. And then on the Monday night game, we got another divisional matchup. The Vikings taking on the Bears. The 2-2 Vikings taking on the 1-3 Bears. What kind of game do you expect this to have with Trubisky making his first start and maybe Case Keenum on the other side?
It's going to be fun to see. Again, it's another one of those things that if you want to see teams that are injury prone, injury riddled, might be on a little bit of shaky territory and stuff like that. But the beautiful, it's another divisional matchup. These guys are going to try to rip each other's hearts out. It's going to be wildly entertaining. I look for it to be a classic Minnesota-Chicago game. I don't think there's going to be a lot of points scored in this game at all. Because even though they've gotten a bit of a bad rap by default, Chicago's defense is not. They have the unfortunate luxury of staying on the field way too fucking long because their offense is terrible. So they can naturally ground down after being on the field for 37, 38 minutes a game. But their defense is tough. They're hard nosed. They've got a underrated secondary, in my opinion. Their front seven is solid. They'll be missing Danny Trevathan for this game, which is definitely going to have an impact because that young man can fly around the ball constantly. He's got a great motor, great work ethic. And then with Minnesota, they're double hamstrung because you're working on borrowed time with your quarterback, borrowed time with your running game. So it's one of those things where they're going to lean on their defense and try to see what they can get, as far as any kind of plays out of their offense. If their quarterback is on point, he has weapons. You got a top 5 tight end. You got a great duo at wide receiver. It's just a matter of being able to get in there and making it click.
Yeah, that's 100% true, man. Is there anybody you comfortable starting this game, or do you just want to stay away from everybody? Or
I'm comfortable with the double-edged sword in the backfield with Howard and Cohen for Chicago, because I think that Trubisky is going to be smart enough to make his proper checkdowns, and like any young quarterback does, you're going to take advantage of all your safety valves, and those guys are effective in short yardage and in passing situations as well. So that works out for them. On Minnesota side, if Case Keenum halfway reasonable with his play, can kind of bring a little bit of that pizzazz that he did the first start that he had. Thielen and Diggs are easily both wide receiver 2s at this point. Kyle Rudolph is a little bit more of a question, but to me, he's a solid flex play. You kind of know what you get out of Kyle Rudolph when it comes to that kind of thing. So, there's some options there. Nothing that's too set in stone, nothing that's too reliable. But if you're getting bit by the bye week curse, or if you're getting bit by the injury bug, I mean, you could have worse options.
And would you get Latavius Murray or Jerick McKinnon to go this week?
I would give Latavius the go just because of the simple fact that I know in the last game McKinnon banged up his ankle. So he's a little bit hobbled, a little bit more so than Latavius.
Who ankle's still kind of messed up, but hey, at least he's a bigger back who we know can actually play. McKinnon, I don't know if McKinnon can play yet, man. I know he's a good athlete, but I don't know if he's that good at football. It's hard to tell. He's great. Yeah. He's great in space, but between the tackles, everything's a question.
Yeah, one of those cases of maybe better athlete than football player.
Yeah, I 100%. I 100% agree with that. Well, that has been the Week 5 preview, man. This should be a pretty interesting week, man.
Oh, yes. There's a lot of prove-it games out there, man. There's a lot of interesting situations. And for you fantasy football fans out there, now you get that trial by fire. That guy in the office has been talking noise to you because he started out the season 3-1 or 4-0. Well, he forgot about the fact that these bye weeks is coming up. Some of them players that he's been crushing you with won't be available to him. And we'll see if somebody can sink or swim. These are what I call those Michael Irvin weeks, because somebody is going to push off and establish separation during these bye weeks.
The push off weeks. No doubt, man. No doubt. So now, man, what we're going to do is get into our oven, microwave, and refrigerated players for Week 5. How's it going for you, Griff?
What's going on? I'm glad to join y'all, boys.
Oh, look who done crept up in the building.
Oh yeah, man. I was tippy-toeing up in this thing.
he snuck
in the back door. You dirty mother.
Yes, master. I can't go through the front door.
He came like Hulk Hogan at Dance at the Beach. He just snuck on up.
You know what I'm saying?
Dropped the leg drop. drop the leg drop on us. But go ahead and drop that leg drop on us, man. Who you want to start off with, Griff? Talk to me.
So I want to go ahead. We're gonna do the oven, right?
Let's go to the oven.
Yeah, it's your call, baby. It's all you.
I'm trying to think how we want to run this down. Do we want to go just by QB, then running back, then wide receiver, or just go all the way down?
I think we should do oven through every position. We can do our microwave through every position, and then our fridge through every position.
Okay, well, I'll start off with the oven. For my oven this week, I have Deshaun Watson. I have him staying hot, staying in the oven, keeping it warm for the people. I'm not afraid of Kansas City.
In the oven?
Oh yeah, he's in there. He's been baking a little while.
In the oven?
Yeah, they in the oven. He's baking. He's baking right now. He's about to blossom.
Me, I don't know.
Toaster.
Well, I'm only giving him the oven.
Oh, okay. He might be toast oven. Okay, I'm good.
Hey, they both still heating it up. But the only reason why I have Watson in the oven this week is because he was hot last week, and I don't see him coming down too much. But the honest factor is when watching that Monday night game with Kirk Cousins and the display that he put on with the lack of weapons that is, I think that Deshaun, he can keep it going this week. And I think that he's not going to play too afraid. I don't think he's scared of the big stage because he's already played in one of the biggest stage twice in his college career. So I think he's ready for the moment, and I think he's going to do well in the moment. I don't think he's going to give you the 33 or 34 points that he gave you, depending on your scoring system. But I still think he's going to give you at least 200 plus, maybe 2 touchdowns, and the rushing yards is always there with him. So I have him in the oven this week. I also have this week is my boy Bilal Powell in the oven. Man, the dude, he broke off. And then, we always been singing his praises for, I don't know, since last year, honestly. Bilal Powell, when he's given the touches and he's given the work, he does well, averaging well over 5 yards a carry. I have to give this man some love. And I love the matchup. He's going against the Browns. Everybody and their mama runs on the Browns. I believe me out of shape can run on the Browns. I can give you about 50.
Can you get 55 on them boys?
I think I can give 50. Touch. I can give you a touch, and I can maybe give you one catch for 3 yards.
Your ass so tough.
Hey, I'm gonna give you one catch for 3 yards. I'm gonna give you one catch for 3 yards and make it look special out there.
Just to keep the defense honest, babe. You gotta keep them honest.
You gotta keep them honest. So I want to stay in the flames with him this week.
Fish and grit screen, we got you.
Oh,
you know
yeah.
What I'm saying? On two.
Hey, fake with one Marcus, and there go the other Marcus. Tiptoeing up.
You know what I'm saying? He's going to catch that one pass, and he's going to get a yard for every Marcus on this broadcast. You heard it here first.
There you go. And then also this week, for my wide receiver, I have Mike Evans. I've been really impressed with Mike Evans and the consistency that he's been displaying since he's been back. I mean, well, honestly, since they've been back from their, I guess, week 1 bye. Last week against a strong New York defense, I think people do tend to undervalue the Giants defense. I know Eli hasn't been the greatest, but that Giants defense is good,
especially their secondary.
Exactly, and for him to put up 5 receptions for 67 yards and a touchdown is pretty impressive for me. And he's going against a horrid, terrible New England defense on Thursday. So I think he's gonna turn it up a little bit. I actually got Mike Evans having at least 10 catches, 110 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So I have Jameis Winston having at least 4 touchdowns this game. I know a lot of people don't see that, but I see Winston showing out on the big
we
highlights or whatever you call it.
Oh yeah, we with you. We're with you, brother.
I'm gonna roll with him. And then also for my last person for the tight end, I'm gonna roll with Charles Clay. And I'm gonna stay in the flames with Charles Clay because I can never get too much Charles Clay. And I expect this game with Cincinnati to be I want to see a hard-fought battle. I think Cincinnati can put up points on Buffalo, and I expect them to, and I expect Tyrod to want to throw the ball a little bit more. So I want to see Charles Clay. He will get involved. He will get involved in the offense more. I give him about a touchdown, 80 yards, and 9 receptions.
Okay.
There we go. Talk to me, Wilson. Who in that oven for you, brother?
All right, I'm going to keep it pretty straightforward and simple. There's no surprises here. In the oven for me at quarterback is TB45. Good old Tom Terrific. You know what it is. That man's got to save his team right now. He back there in the locker room shouting at folks like Eddie Kane and the Temptations. I got to throw 5 touchdowns every game just to keep us in this thing. Is that what y'all tell? You know what? Bet. Suit it up.
That is funny.
Brady is just another losing team in search of a Tom Brady. That's what he's telling them. Drinking that cognac, sitting in his Uggs.
With the yak.
FaceTime
with the yak. Blacks in the yak.
Got that yak in them miles, homie.
Yes,
on
sir.
them miles, on them things. At running back, man, I'm gonna ride that Georgia Bulldog, man. One Todd Gurley. I think that it's not gonna stop. It's a big divisional matchup against Seattle. I think that he's still going to show up and do his thing, particularly in the passing game. I look for him to actually be that legit dual threat. I expect him to break 100 rushing and probably get around 45 to 55 yards receiving. I look for him to score 2 touchdowns. In my wide receiver, safest bet in fantasy football, White Lightning, my man Jordy Nelson, the most reliable scoring wide receiver in fantasy football. I look for that to not stop at all against a very shaky Dallas secondary. And my tight end, who's the shovel king? Somebody tell me.
Hey, it's that man Kelce, Mr. Travis
Kelce, getting that thing in. I think he takes advantage of that Houston linebacking core, and he's going to squeak out a couple of them shovel passes. I think he's going to get a touch out of the deal. I think he's going to end up with another 100-yard game, and I think he's going to have, let's say, about 7 catches, 124 yards, and a touchdown.
Oh, I love those lists. I love those lists. See, y'all too. Y'all like the Costco and the Sam's as far as y'all ovens. I got the little bitty.
Oh, so you great value in us now?
I got the little bitty like Family Dollar oven. I just got the one person again.
He got the right aid.
Yeah, my one guy this week is going to be Zach Ertz. Do I need to say why? This guy owns the middle. He owns the interior. And in that game, I truly believe he's going to hit double-digit catches, like easily. I don't think it's going to be nobody that's going to be able to touch Zach Ertz this week. And that's the one little fella that I got in the oven. But let's see we're going to be microwaving this week. Let's get our popcorn ready.
Well, I'm going to go let Mark.
Well, you start off the microwave.
Yeah, you might as well.
You start off the microwave, Mark.
Oh, my brother, the dude that I got in the microwave is going to be my boy Jay Ajayi. I think he's been chilling a little bit too long. It's about time to take the wrap out for him, take him out the box, take him out the plastic. I think Jay Ajayi going to cut it up this week. I fully expect him to be well over 100 yards, bringing his 180 total yards to 284 total yards. He's going to find the end zone, and he better get 30 touches because Jay Cutler should not be passing more than Jay Ajayi is getting carries.
I agree. I totally agree. I agree with you 1,000% on that because it showed in New Orleans that he was getting something going, and Jay Cutler with his,
just ruined it.
Jay Cutler is depressing looking sometimes. He just depresses me. I'm on the couch. I'm like, damn, I need to get him.
Miles in that hen dog. That's what Jay Cutler is.
He be on the miles in them hen dog. He was probably pissed.
He on Molly and cocaine at this point.
Hey, he was probably mad that them cigarettes was probably high over there in London. That's why he was pissed off standing over there.
How much are they for a pack?
He was they was real cigarettes. He thought they was loaded. Like, man, it's just plain tobacco. Man, I don't want this.
But yeah, for my microwave people, my each position of the week, I'm gonna go ahead and start at the bottom. We're gonna start with Delanie Walker. I feel with the backup backup quarterback coming in. I think they're going to have to go to their tight end. They're going to have to go to him often. They're going to rely on the tight end and the run game this week. So I see a decent game for DeMarco Murray also. Let's throw that out there. But I see that he's going to go to Delanie Walker often. And I mean, a lot, honestly, because he's going to be under duress. And then also, I have this boy. He threw a fit this weekend. And when you throw a fit and you complain, me and DeMarcus love to say,
it's feeding time.
Hey, you know what? When you bitching, that's when you about to eat. When you want your food,
we'll get the oil, baby.
Yes, sir. And Antonio Brown should get the oil this week. Pepper with targets from Big Ben. I have a huge game for Antonio Brown. I have him putting up 200 yards this week on that. On that Jaguars defense.
Oh, Jag.
I think Big Ben at home is going to show out this week, and he's going to let everybody know that it's going to be okay between him and Antonio Brown, his number one guy that keeps him flowing. And I think Antonio Brown's going to get things going this week. And then also for my running back, I'm going to have to go with Melvin Gordon. Once again, another man to start bitching. This man start bitching, talking about his touches, and he needed more. And when a man start bitching, you know what happens? He starts to eat. and I expect Melvin Gordon to have a good bounce back game. I see him getting more involved in the passing game this week. I think they
if they call the plays, the talent is there. They just got to call the fucking plays.
And the talent is there. And I think with him calling out the coach and letting him know that, you know what, I did pretty well last year in catching the ball and receiving. I think you're gonna try to go to that.
Well, week one, Melvin.
I don't know what happened. It's like he played
the ball like 24 times, and they should have won that game. Like, I don't know.
I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on in that organization. I don't know what's going on in that building. The fans not showing up, so I don't know what's going on. But
that soccer stadium.
Exactly.
I'm about to say they only hold 55 for the fire marshal come out. I mean,
55 people, not that.
You know what I'm saying?
55 people.
55,000. 55 people.
55 people.
They parking lot pimping it. They
for real.
But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and run with Melvin Gordon this week. I think he should do well against the Giants, who have not been the greatest against the run this year, and that's one thing that they have been lacking at, and they need to improve on going forward. But I'm also gonna talk about the guy I just gave a little bit of love, and when we were talking about the oven players, I'm gonna give some love to Jameis Winston. He's gonna get it going this week against the Patriots. I expect a big game from him. Marcus expect a good game from Tom Brady. So you already know Jameis Winston's gonna come to play.
Shootout time.
You know it's gonna be a shootout. It's gonna be a beautiful game to watch, and I hope everybody is watching. And they need to be paying attention to the fantasy aspects, because there's one Adam Humphries who is leading the team. I mean, the second in the team in targets that no one's really paying attention to. So if you want to go out there and pick him up, that's another nugget being dropped.
There it is.
Yes, sir. We like to drop them nice and steady.
Let me see here. Microwaving it. I'm going to start from the top down. My microwave, my guy that I look for to have a nice bounce back in another statement game in the NFC will be one Matthew Stafford. I think that he's going to light Carolina up at home. He's going to take advantage of that fast track, and more importantly, Carolina's inability to play well, particularly on defense in said fat track indoor stadiums. I think he's going to have a field day. That secondary is not very good. Running back wise in that microwave, I'm seeing the man get his legs back up under him. I'm expecting him to expand on that. That would be one Le'Veon Bell. I look for him to get back to being the Le'Veon Bell that we fully expected at the beginning of the season. I expect him to actually get in, have a solid day, even for the Steelers. I look for him to break 100-yard mark and score rushing. I look for him to break at least 50 yards receiving, with a possibility of catching a touchdown. At my wide receiver spot, Mr. Sunday Night, let's get it. I'm looking for this man to heat up and make a little bit more of a statement, and that would actually be one Will Fuller. I think that he'll get a chance with Deshaun Watson. They have a little bit of chemistry that I can see working and happening.
I like that.
I can see them popping the top and him getting a couple of chunk plays in there with them paying attention to D Hopkins and the running game, especially if they get Foreman and Miller involved early and often, so that they're not just sitting back on their heels and playing for Deshaun Watson to beat them. I can see if the running game gets off to a good start and Kansas City has to actually respect that run, put a little bit more in the box, them easily going to Filler for the splash play over the top. Potentially go through and have one of those, I guess you can call them Deshaun Jackson type days, maybe a 5-catch, 95-yard touchdown, 2-touchdown day. Not out of the question. Okay. And for my my tight end in the microwave, I mean, it's me and Griff's favorite. I mean, it's gotta be Clay. It's gotta be Clay.
Yes, sir.
Charles Clay is the linchpin of that passing offense in Buffalo. It sounds weird to say, but if you watch Buffalo play, you'll know exactly what we're talking about.
Yes, sir.
Ends with Charles Clay. Those other guys that are out there that's skinnier with the 80-something on there, yeah, they're there, they're cool, but it starts and it ends with Charles Clay. I look for him to have a big game. I look for him to approach double-digit receptions in that game against Cincinnati. I look for them to take advantage of suspect linebacking. Their linebacking is okay. I know Vontaze Burfict is back, but I don't really expect so much out of him this weekend. I look for Clay to be heavily involved. I look for him to break 100 yards, and I look for him to score at least one touchdown.
Ooh, I like the way you're talking, sir. I love the way you're talking.
Yeah, I'm 100%, man. Well, let's open up this ice box for
Uh-oh.
Let's start making some room. I guess Cam Newton, you still up in there, bro.
No.
Somebody just
Guess what?
ordered a 6-pack of Quit. Somebody get me a can of Quit from the.
You know what?
please.
Somebody just grabbed you a pack of Quit because this dude right here, and DeMarcus just named this guy. I came out the room and I turned on the light and I said, "What are you doing out the refrigerator? You are not supposed to be outside of the refrigerator.
Get your ass back in the fridge.
What are you doing, Cam Newton? Get your ass back in the refrigerator. You know you're gonna go play the Lions. You know the Lions is got that good defense. You know you won't be running for no 50 yards and no touchdown.
But
you know they're gonna shut
out. I had a game against New England. Get your ass back in. Get your ass
back up and down. But the thing about Cam Newton, he got some company this week, fellas. The person that's going to be on Cam Newton is going to be a lot of them too. It's a lot of them. It's all those tight receivers, all of them. Get up in there. All y'all, y'all quarterback, all 3 of them. All of them, bro. The only person they stay out Delaney Walker. He's cool. You can go back into the microwave. The oven.
He can stay in there.
Matter of fact,
he in there.
You can go to the barbecue pit, man. You can just hook us up some ribs or something. But the rest of your little receivers, y'all got to stay in the refrigerator, man. I ain't starting none of y'all. The matchup.
Delaney might be in there with that doggone butter dish. Might be in there chilling in the butter dish. I don't know.
Lathering up for the grill.
Yeah. I mean, it may not be his fault, just poor quarterbacking, but he might be sitting there next to the Jello jiggling. I'm just saying.
I ain't starting none of those Tennessee pass catches. I ain't doing. It's gonna be a nice day out there in Florida, but they gonna mess up some fantasy teams this week.
Man,
I guarantee you.
DeMarcus, not DeMarcus. Marcus, who else going in the refrigerator?
For me in the fridge, I'm going to err on the side of history, and it's purely from a fantasy football perspective. But unfortunately, my man is gonna have to take himself a nice little timeout in the butter dish, and that would be one Aaron Rodgers. Again, strictly from a fantasy perspective, I fully expect him to play well. I fully expect for Green Bay to win, but there is history that entertains the fact that in 6 career games in the regular season, Aaron Rodgers has never thrown for 300 yards against the Dallas Cowboys. Aaron Rodgers in 6 regular season games only has 8 touchdowns passing against the Dallas Cowboys. But not good fantasy numbers. So, off of the hot performances he's had the last few weeks, I think it's going to take a step down just slightly, but it won't be the usual Aaron Rodgers expectations there. At running back, because of the fact that I think that he's going to split time a little bit more, considering who they're playing and how they're trying to diversify their offensive scheme a little bit. I think Lamar Miller is going to take a little step back, and he's going to sit in the fridge this weekend. I think that D'Onta Foreman is going to take some of those carries away from him, and that's the main reason why he ends up in the fridge, not from lack of performance or the fact that I think he's going to get shut down. I just don't think he's going to get as many touches as he got last week. My wide receiver, unfortunately, because I have him in so many leagues, I think due to not really understanding the magnitude of the secondary they're playing, I look for AJ Green to get a little turn in the fridge. I think that the receptions and the amount of yards will be limited. I think that once he gets in the red zone, he'll be very effective. I just do not think that the catches and yards will be there. Buffalo's secondary is extremely underrated. The most underrated secondary in football. But they play very well as a unit. Former Packer Micah Hyde being one of those guys that just kind of sneak in there and you almost forgot that he was there until he popped up with 2 interceptions this past weekend. They play a very sound defense. They play very smart, very heady, and they're going to test Cincinnati, who's still trying to kind of get their footing back. They're making strides in that regard, and I'm really interested in seeing which Andy Dalton is going to show up against this secondary, because if Andy Dalton's game is not on, AJ Green will be nowhere to be found. And for my tight end, and this guy should have his own section in the you know what? Fuck that. We're going to put him in the freezer. We're going to put him in the freezer. Oh my God. We're going to put him in the freezer with the ice trays.
Or is he at least still in
No, he's still in the refrigerator freezer. Okay, he's up there with the ice trays. Them old school metal ice trays used to have to crack and break open. No, yeah, he's up there with that. And that would be one Jimmy Graham.
You know what's funny about that? He was on my refrigerator list too.
He's just, yeah, I mean, he's just not, he's not, I'm so disappointed in him right now. I can't even really find the words, but
You
yeah,
choking up.
until further notice, he might just be the guy that I put on repeat in the fridge every single week until he shows me otherwise.
repeat? You got him on cassette tape? Oh man.
For a man to possess that much talent and produce that little, at this point there's only two like locks that I would entertain in my refrigerator section, and that would be Jimmy Graham at tight end, and until he shows me different, as much as I love him, that would be one Dez Bryant at wide receiver. Both of them guys are locked in the fridge until further notice.
Insta fridge, Sub-Zero.
Who's in the fridge? Who wide receivers in the fridge?
Dez Bryant, sir.
Okay, well, y'all got the Titans in the refrigerator. I was so worried about Cam Newton being in the refrigerator. I forgot a few people out. And, you said the Titans in the refrigerator. You said Dez is in the refrigerator. Well, he's about to have some double company. I like to throw Amari Cooper and Crabtree in the refrigerator because last time I looked, who was their quarterback?
It don't matter who their quarterback is. When they had Carr in there as quarterback, they poo cheese.
And they were poo cheese with Derek Carr, and they going down to EJ Manuel. Woo! They straight ass right now, and they going in the refrigerator. You know what? You know like where you peel some shrimp, and you have to, you don't want it to smell up the house, so you put the shells in a plastic bag, and then you put it in the freezer so it can lock that stinkiness in there. I'm throwing those wide receivers up in the freezer to join Jimmy Graham. And I'm another person who was hot last week, and last time I checked, the Carolina Panthers do have a very decent run game. Run defense. And I like to say, Amir Abdullah, you can go in the refrigerator for right now. You can come out maybe later on, but right now it's time for you to cool off a little bit.
Oh.
It's time to cool off. It's gonna be a Matthew Stafford type of game. So I see Golden Tate, Marvin Jones getting it going, but I even see Ebron coming out, picking his head out. But
I can see Galladay having a good game.
Yeah, this is gonna be a passing game.
I think so.
Okay, well, I see Theo Riddick actually having a good game, so that's another person I would take out the refrigerator who's been in the refrigerator for a while, put Amir Abdullah in there for a while, and then let's see what Theo Riddick's going to do when he thaw out a little bit.
And who you got at tight end, my man?
Oh, tight end, we already said who I got at tight end. I got the guy who's stuck in the freezer that Marcus was talking about earlier. Jimmy Graham. You don't have to mention him anymore.
Double Jimmys. Ain't that some shit?
Jimmy
Cole.
Jimmy Cole right now. Jimmy ain't got no soul.
Don't talk about Jimmy soul like that.
Jimmy trash.
Jimmy trash. All right, man.
Jimmy
now
trash.
y'all just bashing. Now y'all just Jimmy bashing. I mean, yes, he could be a lot better, but I mean, the offensive line still trash. Russ don't got enough time back there. He's half-ass running routes, but I wouldn't just say full trash now.
Yeah,
he's
up
trash.
there.
He's garbage.
I don't think it'll go that far.
That's all I got.
That's nice, man. No, but before we do get out of here, I do want to give a quick shout out. Maya Moore looked like she's en route to win her 4th WNBA title, and I think that's just fucking amazing. Between the two
almost
NCAA titles,
comment like.
I mean, but she does it every other year. Yes, she hasn't won no consecutive titles, but just what she's able to do in the WNBA, dude.
Oh, so she's like a Spur then. Okay, cool.
First off, the Spurs won in like all the odd years. So
I'm just saying, you said she ain't never repeated, but she done won 4. It's like the Spurs.
They won all the odd, but every year since she came in the league is every other year, like since 2011. So hey, man, shout out to the best basketball player on the planet. Like until you can't tell me nothing else, Maya Moore all day. So just want to give a quick shout out to her.
LeBron, don't you ever disrespect
she
king like that again.
Yeah, do LeBron up. She in Jordan, bruh. She got a Jordan contract. LeBron ain't got no Jordan contract.
But you know what? LeBron has a LeBron contract.
Hey, Maya Moore got anything that a woman would want. She probably not making the 50,000 like all the other women are, but she got
no, but don't you ever disrespect calling her better than king. Don't you ever do that.
But shout out to Maya Moore taking home that 4th title, though, man. I just want to give a quick shout out as we close up the podcast. But is there anything else y'all want to tell the people before we close everything up?
No, I'm about to go catch some Star and some catch up on. I heard that Blackish came back on, and
oh my God,
it's another show came on back on.
Yeah,
Queen Sugar.
Queen Sugar. I was about to say, Queen Sugar came back on too. Blackish came back on with a vengeance.
Oh, you know what, Marcus? I saw a snippet of it. No, I'm not gonna say a snippet. I saw a good 10 minutes of it, and it was getting good when they were trying to make everybody realize about the what's that, Juneteenth?
Yes,
It was
sir.
very good.
That show came back with a vengeance. I think that Blackish, when it's all said and done, will be one of the most socially relevant shows that have ever come out on regular TV ever.
And I'm so mad that more black people don't watch that show.
I love this.
Yeah, I mean, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. But they will never hesitate to complain though about the quality of water. It's just what it is. You know what I'm saying? For me, like we discussed at the beginning of the show, man, this is the best month to be a sports fan, man. Dig in, get it in deep. Love seeing my Yankees pull out this wild card game. Looking forward to seeing these divisional matchups now. It's going to be fun watching the baseball playoffs. It's going to be fun watching the opening of hockey and basketball. It's going to be fun to watch these races in the football heat up. College football it's just everything going on. English Premier League. You got soccer going on all over the world. It's an awesome time of the year, man. This is the month for sports overload because everybody's playing at the same time. Nothing like it.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's true.
Can't beat October, man. Cannot beat October. Anything from you, Griff?
Nothing. That's about it. I mean, just the shows that I'm watching. That's about it, really. Ain't too much else going. Looking forward to this Thursday night game. And hey, check out them Rockets. They looking good.
Oh yeah, they definitely did. Chris Paul and James Harden look like they're gonna work pretty damn good.
But you
together.
know what? There's a problem that James Harden is having, and once again, it's peeking his head. Turnovers.
Oh, well, that's all. That's
Yeah.
all. That's all.
I mean,
the case.
it's one of those things that's gonna happen, man. It's almost to the way that today's NBA is, man. It's one of those acceptable. It's one of those acceptable hazards.
Yeah, yeah.
Because
Especially
for what he gives you in point production and ball distribution, you almost ignore the turnovers. To be honest, I never see anybody sit during a game and be like, "Oh my God, look, he's got 12 turnovers." I wouldn't give a shit. He's got 38 points. He's got 13 rebounds and 11 assists. I really don't care. To me, that's nitpicking. Now, if he wasn't putting up those numbers across the board, then the turnovers matter. But when you're generating that much offense in that short of a time, turnovers are kind of an acceptable byproduct. Now, if he wasn't averaging damn near 30 a game and a triple-double, then we can talk about turnovers. But until that happens, I'm good with it. I'm good with it.
yeah, I'm fine with it too, man. But man, everybody got to catch the good old Thursday night football tomorrow. That should be a very exciting game for everybody. to watch.
Shootout City.
I'm gonna have to get off early to catch that full game. I need to see the ins and outs of this game. See how the
Oh, you need to watch the explosion that's about to take place.
Oh,
The
yeah.
fantasy-
Man.
we fully expect that.
Tom Brady might be TB20 by the time the game is over.
Ooh, man, them
That man
fajitas,
gonna
I can
That
smell
man
'em.
gonna be chucking that ball like his life depend on it. Tom Brady is in full on. I have a backpack with a Patriots logo on it, and it's heavy because I got 53 people in it that I'm trying to walk to this finish
I'm
line.
looking
Like
at a
it's
5.
literally Tom Brady or bust.
I'm looking at a 5 to 6 touchdown game from Tom Brady. I see,
Like no lie. I
I-
see him throwing 5 touchdowns in this game for real.
because I feel it, man. I feel like he's pissed that he lost that game.
Yeah.
You lost
He
to Cam
mad.
Newton. You don't want to lose to Cam Newton. You can't explain that to
He
Donald.
might have wrote, we lost to this goddamn nigger. Did we get rid of him already? What is he doing with his fists up in the air? I thought he was on our side.
Is that Colin
You already know,
Kaepernick?
man.
I'm sorry. I had to do that. I'm sorry.
No, it's all good, bro. But I can't deal with y'all niggas. So. But man,
Cam Newton
damn Cam Newton. But man, as for now, this has been Fish and Grits, and you guys have just been served.
Peace.
Y'all enjoy.